please consider liking the video and subscribing. Let's begin. With the recently released trailer for the Fallout show on Amazon looking really promising, it got me thinking about other video games that would fit really well as TV shows, both animated and live action. We have seen the good and the bad. Believe me, Halo fans, I feel for you, but the future does look bright. Anyway, in this video I want to go over 6 video games that would make amazing TV shows, and of course, this is just my opinion. If there's any games out there that I didn't mention, please write it down below, I would love to read it. So anyway, sit back and let's get into this. First one I wanted to talk about is, of course, FNAF. Now obviously I know that there's a movie out and it was really well received by the fans, and the second installment is going to begin filming in July of this year. Now I did an entire video on predicting the potential sequel on FNAF, but a show idea that I wanted to expand on is a show about Fredbear's Family Diner. This show could focus on the struggles that William and Henry had to go through to open Fredbear's. It could also serve as a prequel and give us more insight into how William Afton turned from being a normal man into this nasty, violent killer. We'd have 2 main characters, William and Henry's daughter Charlotte, who would kind of be like the comical and cute relief in the show. We would explore William's home life and relationship with his family. Throughout the show, we would slowly see how Fredbear's and the business would take him away. Eventually, his wife would be fed up with him and divorce him, as William was already pretty sad and defeated. In the heat of the moment, during an argument, William murders his own wife. If he can't have her, then no one can. The show would continue. We'd see how William is deeply affected. He feels horrible about killing his own wife, but also, deep down, he might have enjoyed it a little. Henry, on the other hand, is coming up with so many great ideas for the company, with the help of Charlotte, of course. Remember, Henry doesn't care about the money, just making sure his daughter's happy. William would see this happy man with his happy family. He wants the world to feel how he feels, but especially Henry, so he murders Charlotte. We wouldn't see him actually kill her on screen, but it would be heavily implied. Henry would find out about her death and be deeply saddened. He would mourn her, having only one thing to remember her by, a marionette doll. He would quit and find no purpose in his work anymore. Eventually, he would take his own life. William securing all of his blueprints and closing down Fredbear's to avoid any suspicion, and he changes his name to Steve Raglan. This show could explain the marionette's appearance in FNAF 2, and also make us the fans root even more against William Afton. Let me know what you think about this one. Moving on to the next show, it's a game that I have a love and hate relationship with. Overwatch. Despite its many problems with monetization and the game itself, nobody can say that they don't do animated shorts perfectly. I'm sure some of you have seen some of them, or if not all of them, like I have. I always wondered why Overwatch had never had a show. Clearly, they can get it done. In my opinion, I feel like a show exploring a still mysterious part in the Overwatch lore, a prequel series about how Overwatch was started, and we take a look at the early days of the group, with the main characters being the original Overwatch team: Jack Morrison, Gabriel Reyes, Torbjorn, Reinhardt, Anna Amari, and Mina Liao. We would see everything: the Omnic crisis, the world struggling to fight against the Omnics, and Overwatch being created to stop this. We would see the great friendship that both Reaper and Soldier had before their battle and falling out. We could finally see that fight go down. Also just seeing the squad go into battle, with the group having to struggle to not only protect themselves, but each other. This show could fill in a lot of gaps that the Overwatch lore still has. A lot of unanswered questions like why the Omnics even began attacking and turning evil in the first place. We can finally see what caused this. Kind of like their miniseries Genesis that showed us into that part of Overwatch, but that still isn't enough. That's one way they could do the show. Another is basically just sticking to whatever they have now. They've done shorts on a lot of heroes, and many heroes have made appearances in other shorts, but the last hero animated short that was made was Calling, which focused on Sojourn's story and what she was currently up to. Now imagine a Netflix show with an animation style like that, but full-length episodes that go into depth with the character, both on the hero side and the villain side of the story. I would kill for a Ramatra origin story episode like that, but this is of course wishful thinking, and the odds of that happening, especially from Blizzard, is very low. Dead Space, an extremely creepy and scary game that would fit so well as a TV show. The main character would of course be Isaac Clarke. We would see him having to battle and try to escape the mining spaceship filled with the necromorphs. Along with that, the show could also go into his struggles and his battles with his psychosis. The show could also go into more detail on how Earth changed and how life on Earth could have been with the divided sectors of nations and the global crisis it's facing. But of course, its selling point would have to be its horror. What makes Dead Space so scary? Well, its atmosphere and the feeling of the aesthetic of abandonment and left to rot. It's something that makes me creeped out. Of course, the necromorphs have a big role to play in this. I mean, just look at this. This is disgusting, and I pray I never have to see anything like this in my life. For example, in The Last of Us, the infected or the clickers looked really good. The fact that it's practical effects just shows how there are some really talented people out there. If Dead Space can have the same SFX artist, then the necromorphs can truly look amazing. Let me know what you think of this one. Moving on to another classic game, it's Red Dead Redemption, a highly praised game, both the first game and the sequel. Now, if a show was to be done, then you would have to start with the beginning, with Red Dead 2, basically moving backwards since Red Dead 2 is a prequel to Red Dead. We know that currently there isn't a demand for old western cowboy shows. Currently everyone, including myself, is losing it over Shogun. Great show, by the way. But I feel like a Red Dead show can revive the old Western genre, and with a show like this, with a story like this, people would definitely be for it. Now, as far as the show itself, like I said, it could be about the first or second game, a little bit of both maybe. If it's the first game, then the main character would be John Marston, who needs to hunt down his old gang of bandits, dead or alive. Each episode could focus on many different challenges that come with the Old West. Maybe a cougar can attack in one of them, or who knows, maybe a random encounter like you get drugged, or heck, what if a UFO just appears in the sky for a brief time then flies away into the night? If the show is well received, which I mean, come on, it would be overseen by Rockstar, and they are almost always on par with their games. Then a spin-off series on Undead Nightmare can be made. I remember playing Undead Nightmare and being so spooked out of my mind when I was younger, and I know it's not canon, but still, a fun horror zombie show like this could be cool to watch. A game that many people have turned their backs on. It's Starfield, and I think that's a little messed up because yes, everyone was hyped for it, and Starfield did deliver. It just died out way too fast, like really fast. I feel like if a show were to be created, then maybe it could have people's interest sparked, just like how Edge Runners did for Cyberpunk. After seeing the show, the game found massive success because people were like, hold up, I want to be like David, I want to go on crazy adventures. For the show Starfield, it would adapt the game's story, and we'd follow someone who has come in contact with the artifacts, and this person joins Constellation to find others, but this time, instead of characters that we already know, we'd meet others and get to know them more, and maybe bring in some fan favorites like Sarah. There could be many adventures like exploring dangerous planets. Arcs from the games can be converted into show arcs. For example, let's say that the main character from the show was once a part of the Crimson Fleet. Looking to redeem themselves and avoid jail time, they're forced into joining Constellation and are sent on dangerous missions. Since they're already criminals, losing them won't be a big deal. Throughout the show, our character would grow to learn morals and become a better person. Some episodes can focus on the origins of Constellation, and maybe we'd get some answers as to who were the very first ones to come in contact with them, or better yet, who created them. Maybe in this show we'd see some intelligent aliens, unlike in the game, which they never came out. At the final episode of the show, either being a season 1 or a multiple season thing, our character would have to make a decision, either stay in this timeline or go into the next, and see what's out there. If they choose to stay, then the show can end. But if they choose to leave, then the show can continue to Season 2. A potential story for Season 2 that I had could be where our character is transported to a universe where there's no order and there's only chaos. They regret their decision and have to find their way back. They meet many different versions of the characters we know from Season 1. Regardless of what this show could be about, I feel like Starfield was left in the dust quicker than it should have been. I really enjoyed this game, but I also agree with some of the criticism some people had on it. A beloved fighting game by many, including me, Street Fighter has a world of great characters, and interesting ones too. An animated show would certainly be exciting. I know they had one in like the mid-90s, but imagine a show with the current technology of animation. I could see it having the same success as Arcane. Our main character would be Ryu, who so desperately wants to become the world fighting champion, but that title has been held by Ken for a while. A twist that the show can have is unlike in the game where Ryu and Ken are friends, and here they absolutely hate each other. Also, the personalities will be a little different. Ryu, as we know in the game, is a serious and quiet guy. In the show, he'd be more friendly and open to the world. Ken, on the other hand, would still be the cocky and bold type. We see Ryu as he struggles to keep a job and support himself. He wants to chase his dreams at becoming world champion. Many other fighters from across the world also compete for that title. Famous characters like Chun-Li, E. Honda, Sagat, and of course, the show's overall looming villain, M. Bison. The reason why Ken is always at the top is because of Bison. Him and Ken have a deal. As long as Ken doesn't foil Bison's evil doings, the power and the money and the influence he has on the tournament, then Ken will always be the champion. In the final fight between Ryu and Ken, we learn of this, and Ryu defeats Ken, but not stopping there, challenging the tournament owner and leader himself, Bison. The two have this epic showdown, both using their powers and abilities. Ryu is defeated. Just when Bison is going to go for the killing blow, Ken steps in and helps Ryu. The two defeat Bison, and the tournament is now free. Finally, at the end of the show, we see that maybe Ken and Ryu aren't so different, and maybe they can get along. As far as multiple seasons, there's so much they can do with this, because with Bison defeated, there's a space left in the underworld for others to take. Let me know what you think of this. I want to say thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing. It means so much to me. Also, thank you for the support on the entire channel. These past couple months have been really well. Thank you so much. Anyway, please take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.